Abandoned alien woman was lost in space with her little daughter. Then they met this human man. HFY the stars stretched endlessly across the black sky, glittering like tiny shards of hope in the vast emptiness. Lyra's shuttle drifted silently, its metal hull scarred from some earlier, unseen battle. Inside, the dim lights flickered, casting long shadows across the small cabin where Lyra sat, cradling her daughter Neela. The girl's large, violet eyes were wide with both fear and curiosity. "Mom, why is it so dark?" Neela asked softly, her small fingers gripping the edge of the seat. Lyra forced a smile. "It's just space, sweetheart, nothing to be afraid of. The stars are our friends." But even as she said it, Lyra's mind raced. Their home, a beautiful planet full of towering crystal cities and oceans that shimmered with color, was gone, destroyed in a war they could not escape. All that remained of their life was this fragile shuttle and the little human-like girl she had to protect. The navigation system flickered and beeped erratically. Lyra pressed buttons, her fingers moving faster than her mind. She had learned to fix things quickly, to improvise when needed. Yet now the damage seemed too much. The main engine had failed days ago, and the emergency boosters could only stretch their journey so far. Neela tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, do you think anyone will find us?" Lyra hugged her tightly, feeling the warmth of her daughter against the cold metal walls. "We have to hope, Neela. Hope is stronger than fear." A soft, rhythmic thrum came from the corner of the shuttle. Neela had found a small music box hidden under a pile of supplies. It was old and scratched, with a tiny metal ballerina spinning in circles. Lyra hadn't noticed it before. The melody, simple but haunting, filled the cabin. For a moment, it drowned out the alarms, the emptiness, and the fear. "How does it make the music, Mom?" Neela asked, eyes wide. Lyra examined it. "It plays when you wind it. Humans made it a long time ago. Music can remind us of who we are, even when we are far from home." Neela nodded seriously, winding the music box carefully. Lyra watched her, a mixture of pride and sadness swelling inside her chest. Her daughter had survived the fall of a planet, the loss of family, and the cold void of space without a single complaint. And yet, she still smiled, still found wonder in small things. Lyra turned back to the control panel. She adjusted a few dials, trying to get a weak signal from any nearby ships or colonies. Static hissed from the comm system. Then a faint voice, barely audible, cracked through. "This is anyone request assistance." Lyra's heart leapt. She leaned closer. "Can you hear me? This is Lyra and her daughter. Our ship is damaged. We need help." The static grew louder, then faded. No response. She tried again, desperation sharpening her voice. "Please, anyone, we are lost. Coordinates." Nothing. Neela pressed her small hand to Lyra's arm. "Mom, are we alone?" Lyra swallowed the lump in her throat. "Not completely," she said, forcing calm into her voice. "We have each other. That's a start." The shuttle shuddered. A small warning light blinked, oxygen levels dropping faster than expected. Lyra's eyes darted across the cabin, calculating time, distance, options. They were running out of air, and the nearest human colonies were hundreds of light years away. She took a deep breath and tried to focus. "Neela, I need you to stay calm. We are going to be safe. I promise." The girl's eyes were full of trust, and Lyra knew she couldn't fail her. Not now. Lyra had always been a quick thinker, even in moments of extreme danger. She opened the storage compartment and pulled out spare tools, wires, and a small emergency booster module. She could try to rig the shuttle to get closer to the nearest human sector, but it was risky. One mistake, and they could drift forever into the void. Neela watched, fascinated. "Mom, are you a genius?" she asked, half laughing. Lyra chuckled softly, the sound echoing oddly in the metal cabin. "Something like that. Now help me hand me these wires." Together, mother and daughter worked. Lyra showed Neela how to connect circuits, how to hold the wires carefully, and how to double-check everything. Neela followed her instructions with a seriousness that impressed Lyra. Even at 7 years old, the girl had courage beyond her years. Hours passed. The shuttle's systems groaned and whined under the strain of the repairs. Lyra wiped sweat from her brow and looked at the view screen. Stars streaked past them as if mocking their slow progress. She didn't dare sleep. Not yet. Neela's small head had drooped onto her lap, her eyelids heavy but refusing to close completely. Lyra whispered to herself, "We're not giving up, not ever." Suddenly, the shuttle jolted violently. Red lights flashed, alarms blared. Lyra grabbed Neela, pulling her into a protective hug. What is happening?" Neela cried. Lyra's heart pounded. "Hold on, something's coming, I don't know what yet." Outside the viewport, a massive shadow loomed. A ship. Bigger than any Lyra had seen before, sleek and dark, its hull gleaming under distant starlight. She couldn't identify its origin, but it moved with purpose. Lyra fought the controls, trying to signal it to make contact. Her fingers trembled, but she pushed through. "This is Lyra and Neela. We mean no harm. Please help us." The shadow shifted, revealing a humanoid figure moving along the hull. Lyra squinted. The human-like features were unmistakable: 2 arms, 2 legs, and a curious face staring at them from inside a helmet. Relief and fear collided in her chest. The ship came closer, docking with her shuttle carefully. Airlocks hissed, lights shone brightly, and Lyra held Neela tightly as a door opened. A voice called out, calm and steady, "You're safe now. Step aboard. I'm Captain Ethan Cross." Lyra's throat tightened. Safe. A word she hadn't dared to believe for so long. She stood, clutching Neela, and took a careful step toward the light. The human reached out a hand. "Come on, you're going to be okay." For the first time in what felt like forever, Lyra allowed herself to hope. As they were guided into the human ship, Neela's eyes sparkled with curiosity, and Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps this meeting was more than luck. Perhaps humanity, with its strange, relentless courage, was the key to their survival. And as the shuttle floated behind them, empty and forgotten, Lyra whispered to herself, "Maybe we can start again." The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewport, but now they felt different, less threatening, less cold. Somewhere out there, in the vastness of space, hope had found them. The interior of Captain Ethan Cross's ship was unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. Bright lights reflected off polished metal floors, and panels of glowing buttons lined the walls. The hum of the engines was steady, comforting, and the air smelled faintly of something warm and clean, a stark contrast to the recycled air of her damaged shuttle. Lyra held Neela's hand tightly as they stepped forward. The little girl's eyes were wide with wonder, staring at every blinking light and moving screen. "Don't worry, Neela," Lyra whispered softly. "It's just a very big human ship." Ethan smiled behind his helmet. "Welcome aboard," he said. "I'm going to get you both settled. You must be tired." Lyra nodded, her voice tight with relief. "Thank you. I wasn't sure we'd make it." Ethan waved a hand. "You're safe now, that's what matters. Let's get you some food, water, and a place to rest." They followed him through narrow corridors that smelled faintly of metal and warmth. Neela skipped slightly, curiosity bubbling inside her, but Lyra kept her grounded. The little girl's energy was endless, a sharp contrast to the exhaustion etched on Lyra's face. Ethan led them to a small room with 2 bunks. "This will be your temporary home," he said. "I've set the temperature and oxygen levels to match what you're used to. You'll be comfortable here." Lyra looked around, impressed by the care and thought. She had seen human colonies before, but the attention to detail and practicality of this ship was remarkable. Ethan was not only competent, but he also seemed genuinely kind. That was a rare quality these days, even among humans. Neela climbed onto one of the bunks. "Mom, can we sleep now?" Lyra nodded, pulling the girl close. "Yes, sweetheart, we need rest." As they settled in, Lyra noticed Ethan stepping back, giving them privacy. But before he left, he said, "I'll be in the control room if you need anything. Don't worry, you're safe here." The girl's small voice called after him, "Thank you, Mr. Captain," Ethan chuckled softly. "You're welcome, little one," he replied. After Neela fell asleep, Lyra stayed awake, staring out the small viewport at the stars. The vast darkness of space no longer felt threatening. It felt alive, full of possibility, and for the first time in weeks, Lyra allowed herself to hope. The next morning, Ethan invited Lyra and Neela to the control room. The walls glowed with displays of star maps, blinking signals, and readouts of the ship's status. Neela bounced excitedly on her mother's hip, pointing at everything. "Wow, look at all the stars," Neela exclaimed. "Can we touch them, Mom?" Lyra laughed softly. "Not quite, sweetheart, but we can travel to see them up close." Ethan smiled. "That's the idea. We're heading toward the nearest human outpost. It's a few light days away, but we should reach it safely with these engines." Lyra nodded, her mind racing with questions. How did you find us? The shuttle was barely sending any signal." Ethan leaned back in his chair. "Luck and humans are persistent. I monitor this sector for lost ships and emergencies. Your signal was faint, but I managed to trace it. Honestly, I didn't think anyone would still be alive." Lyra's eyes widened. "You risked your ship for strangers." Ethan shrugged lightly. "Not strangers anymore. Anyone surviving in space deserves a chance. Humans, we don't give up easily. We keep going, even when it seems impossible." Lyra felt a strange warmth. There was truth in his words. Humans had a resilience she had never fully understood before. They faced danger, yet their courage and curiosity drove them forward. Maybe that was why her daughter had survived this far. They shared that same spark. Neela tugged at Ethan's sleeve. "Do you have toys here? Or games?" Ethan laughed, crouching to her level. "I have some gadgets that might be more fun than toys, but first, breakfast. You need energy to explore later." Lyra watched as the human prepared food. It was simple bread, some fresh fruit, and a hot drink, but it smelled amazing. Neela ate eagerly, her laughter echoing in the small room. Lyra felt her heart lift. After so much loss, these small moments of normalcy were priceless. After breakfast, Ethan offered to show them the ship. He led Lyra and Neela through hallways lined with machinery and observation decks. Neela's excitement was contagious, and Lyra found herself smiling more than she had in weeks. "Humans really build amazing things," Lyra said, examining a console that controlled the ship's navigation. "Your technology, it's simple, yet effective." Ethan nodded. "We value practicality, but we also value creativity. Humans combine both when it matters." Lyra tilted her head. "Creativity? You mean imagination?" "Yes," Ethan said. "The ability to think beyond what exists, to adapt, to solve problems, sometimes in ways no one expects. That's how humans survive and thrive." Lyra thought of her own people, whose technology had been more advanced but rigid. They had failed to adapt when war came. Humans, maybe that was why they endured. The ship passed through a dense asteroid field, shaking slightly as they navigated. Lyra's hands gripped the railing instinctively. Ethan remained calm, adjusting controls with ease. Neela squealed with delight, pointing at the glowing rocks outside. "See, Mom, it's like a dance." "The stars are dancing," Lyra laughed softly, her tension easing. "Yes, sweetheart, a dangerous dance, but beautiful nonetheless." Ethan noticed her reaction. "You're brave," he said quietly. "Not many would handle this journey with such calm." Lyra met his gaze. "I have to be. My daughter, she depends on me, and I won't fail her." Ethan nodded, respecting the quiet strength in her voice. He knew humans were resilient, but this alien woman, she had survived so much already. He couldn't help but feel admiration. Days passed. During the journey, Lyra learned more about human customs. Ethan shared stories of his home planet, his childhood, and his adventures across the galaxy. Neela listened with rapt attention, absorbing every detail. "You humans are really different," Lyra said one evening as she watched Neela play with a holographic puzzle. "Not just physically, but the way you think, the way you hope. It's strange, but I like it." Ethan smiled. Different doesn't mean worse. Humans face hardship, yes, but we adapt. We survive. And sometimes we surprise even ourselves. Lyra realized he was right. She had assumed survival meant strength alone, but humans had something more: ingenuity, compassion, and the courage to act even when fear was present. Neela, perched on Ethan's knee, looked up at him with wide eyes. "Mom, humans are amazing, just like you," Lyra laughed, hugging her daughter. "Thank you, Neela, and maybe humans are worth trusting." Ethan watched the exchange quietly. He didn't need words. He knew Lyra was starting to see the same thing he had always believed. Humans could be heroes, not just in war or battle, but in saving lives, in helping those in need, in never giving up. One night, as the ship drifted past a glowing nebula, Lyra stepped onto the observation deck. The colors of the swirling gases reflected in her eyes, a reminder of the world she had lost. She felt Ethan's presence behind her. "You miss your home," he said gently. Lyra nodded, her voice soft. "Every moment, but maybe there is a new home out there, for Nayla and for me. Maybe humans can show me a way." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone anymore. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Lyra looked at him, a mixture of gratitude and cautious hope in her eyes. She didn't fully understand humans yet, but one thing was certain: they were strong, inventive, and capable of great kindness. And maybe, just maybe, that strength could help her rebuild what she had lost. The stars stretched endlessly outside, but now, for Lyra and Neela, the void didn't seem quite so lonely. With Ethan's guidance and the human way of never giving up, a new journey was beginning. A journey of survival, friendship, and hope. The ship glided silently through the dark stretch of uncharted space. Lyra watched the stars streak past the viewport, a constant reminder of how small they were in the endless universe. Neela sat on the floor, playing with a small holographic game Ethan had given her, laughing softly. For a moment, the void felt almost peaceful. But peace was a fragile thing in space, Lyra knew. She had learned that too well. Ethan's voice broke the quiet. "We're approaching a sector that hasn't been mapped. Sensors show unusual energy readings. I'll need you to stay alert." Lyra straightened, her pulse quickening. Unusual energy readings? What kind of unusual? Ethan adjusted the controls, his fingers moving over the panels with precision. Could be remnants of a dying star, magnetic storms, or something else. Something unknown. We won't know until we get closer. Lyra glanced at Neela, who was too absorbed in her game to notice the tension. "Stay close to me, sweetheart," Lyra whispered. The ship entered the sector. Immediately, the stars outside began to warp, colors shifting unnaturally. Streams of energy surged across the viewports like rivers of light. The hull shuddered. "Hold on," Ethan called, gripping the controls. Alarms rang. The ship's shields flared to life as a sudden burst of cosmic energy slammed into them. Lyra grabbed Neela and held her tight. "Mom." "What's happening?" the girl cried, her voice trembling. "Space is angry," Lyra said, trying to mask her fear. "But we can handle it." Ethan's calm presence was steadying. "It's a magnetic storm," he explained. "Nothing we can't survive, but we need to navigate carefully." The ship wove through the energy currents like a dancer, shields sparking with each impact. Lyra's heart pounded. She had never seen humans move so fast, think so quickly under pressure. They didn't panic, they adapted. Every action was precise, calculated, and brave. "Ethan, how do you stay so calm?" Lyra asked, clutching the railing. He glanced at her, a small smile under his helmet. "Humans, we survive because we stay calm when it matters. Fear is natural, but it can't control us. We act, we adapt, and we keep moving forward." Lyra nodded, absorbing the lesson. Perhaps that was why humanity thrived, even in the harshest corners of the galaxy. They didn't just react, they innovated. After hours of tense navigation, the storm passed. The ship emerged into a quiet zone, a calm unlike any Lyra had felt in weeks. Stars sparkled normally, and Neela's laughter returned, soft but full of relief. You did it, Neela cheered, jumping up to hug Ethan. He laughed. We did it together, that's what counts. Lyra's heart swelled. Despite everything, the loss of her home, the constant fear, they had survived. And humans, she realized more than ever, were more than their strength or technology. Their ingenuity, courage, and determination made them a force to respect. The calm didn't last long. Sensors picked up a nearby planet uncharted and seemingly abandoned. Ethan's brow furrowed. We'll land for a closer look. Could be resources, could be shelter or danger. Stay close. Lyra followed, gripping Neela's hand. The planet was beautiful at first glance. Vast oceans shimmered under a pale sun, jagged mountains rose into the clouds, and forests stretched across the landscape like a green blanket. But as they descended, the ship's scanners picked up strange energy readings. Ancient technology inactive but still faintly humming. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Lyra, you might want to see this, he said. On the main screen, symbols appeared, alien markings, old and worn. Lyra's breath caught. Her people's technology had a certain signature, but this was older, from a civilization she had never encountered. Her curiosity surged. Could this be a survivor of my homeworld? She whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Ethan looked at her, understanding her thought. Maybe, or a civilization that existed long before yours. Either way, it's worth exploring. Carefully. They landed on a flat plateau, the ship's landing gear gripping the uneven terrain. The air outside was breathable but tinged with a strange scent, like metal and ozone. Neela clutched Lyra's hand tightly, her wide eyes taking in the alien structures around them. These are ruins, Lyra said softly, but they're advanced. Much more advanced than anything humans or my people have built before. Ethan's eyes gleamed with fascination. We should document everything. This could be a major discovery. As they explored, Lyra noticed a faint glow from a broken console. She approached carefully. The symbols reminded her of the lost scripts from her home planet. Her heart raced. Could it be? Ethan watched her, curiosity mirrored in his eyes. What is it? He asked. Lyra knelt by the console, tracing the alien symbols with her fingers. This might be a message. Or instructions, from a civilization long gone or maybe survivors. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling of the ancient ruins and Neela squealed in alarm. Mom, she cried. Lyra scooped her up. Stay close, Neela. A low hum filled the air, growing louder. Panels of alien metal lit up, pulsing in rhythm with the energy readings Ethan had detected. Lights blinked, doors slid open, and a holographic map appeared, projecting into the air. Ethan's jaw tightened. This technology, it's active. Somehow, be careful. Lyra's eyes widened. She could see the holographic paths of the ruins, tunnels leading deep underground. She took a deep breath. There might be answers down there, about my people and maybe about survival. Ethan nodded. Then we go together, carefully. The trio descended into the glowing ruins. Every step echoed in the cavernous halls. Neela held tightly to Lyra's hand, her small body trembling but eager to explore. Ethan's presence was steady, a constant reassurance in the eerie, alien space. They discovered chambers filled with ancient devices, some broken, some still humming faintly. Lyra recognized the design patterns similar to her homeworld's architecture. Her heart ached with memories and loss. This could help rebuild, she whispered. Or at least preserve what we've lost, Ethan nodded. And humans, we can help. We'll study it, understand it together. Suddenly, one of the devices emitted a high-pitched sound. The lights flickered and the floor shook again. Neela clung to Lyra, eyes wide with fear. Mom. What's happening? Lyra held her tight. We need to stay calm. Humans survive storms, so can we. Ethan quickly examined the device. It's a defensive mechanism. The ruins, they were designed to protect themselves. We need to disable it before it harms us. Lyra's mind raced. Using her knowledge of alien technology and Ethan's instructions, they worked together. Wires were rerouted, circuits patched, and slowly the humming and shaking subsided. Breathing heavily, Lyra hugged Neela close. "We did it. We survived." Ethan smiled. "Together. That's what counts." Lyra looked at him, admiration and gratitude in her eyes. Humans truly had a way of turning danger into opportunity. They faced the unknown with courage, creativity, and determination. This was why they survived where others failed. Neela, tired but exhilarated, looked up at her mother. "Mom, humans are amazing, just like you said." Lyra laughed softly. "Yes, Neela, yes, they are." As they left the ruins, Lyra felt a renewed sense of purpose. She might have lost her home, but there were still mysteries to uncover, knowledge to preserve, and survival to fight for. And with humans like Ethan by her side, perhaps there was hope for a new beginning. The stars outside the viewport stretched endlessly, but for Lyra, Neela, and Ethan, the void no longer felt empty. It was full of possibility, danger, and wonder, and they were ready to face it together. The human outpost appeared on the horizon like a jewel among the stars. Its domes glimmered under the light of a distant sun, and ships of all shapes and sizes moved gracefully along docking bays. Lyra felt her heart lift. After so many days of drifting, of fear, and of constant vigilance, they had finally arrived. "Is this safe?" Neela asked, clutching her mother's hand tightly. Lyra smiled, though her eyes were still cautious. "It looks safe, sweetheart. We've made it this far and we're not alone anymore." Ethan guided them through the docking process, calm and methodical. "Welcome to Haven Station," he said, a hint of pride in his voice. "It's a place for everyone, humans, aliens, travelers. You'll find help here." The airlock hissed, and they stepped into the bustling outpost. Lyra's senses were overwhelmed by the noise, the smell, and the sheer activity of the station. People moved with purpose, speaking different languages, working on machines, and trading goods. Yet, despite the chaos, there was a sense of order, of community. Neela's eyes sparkled. "Mom, it's like a city in space." Lyra laughed softly, lifting her daughter into her arms. "Yes, a very big, busy city in space." Ethan led them to a small living quarters prepared for them. Comfortable beds, clean air, and warm light greeted them. Neela ran to explore, her laughter echoing through the room, while Lyra sat on the edge of the bed, letting herself finally relax. "You did it, Lyra," Ethan said softly, sitting across from her. "You survived. You protected Neela, and you kept going even when it seemed hopeless." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. I couldn't have done it without you. Humans, you're stronger than I imagined. Not just physically, but in heart and mind. You never give up." Ethan smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "Humans survive because we try, we adapt. We face the unknown and keep moving forward. And sometimes, we find friends along the way who make the journey worth it." Lyra nodded, realizing the truth in his words. Humans weren't perfect. They had flaws, mistakes, and fears. But they also had resilience, compassion, and an unyielding drive to overcome. That was why they thrived in the vast, unforgiving universe. Over the next few days, Lyra and Neela began to settle into the outpost. Ethan helped Lyra access research facilities, where she could analyze the alien artifacts they had found on the uncharted planet. Her hands shook slightly as she worked, touching the ancient consoles, deciphering symbols, and piecing together fragments of lost knowledge. This could save what's left of my people's history," Lyra said one evening, exhausted but determined. "And maybe help others avoid the mistakes that destroyed our home." Ethan nodded. "We'll make sure it's preserved. Humans, we value knowledge too. We understand that survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about learning, sharing, and growing." Neela, meanwhile, explored the outpost with wide-eyed wonder. She met other children from different planets, laughing and playing in the zero-gravity recreation hall. Lyra watched her daughter's joy and felt a warmth she hadn't felt in years. "You see, Mom," Neela said one day, floating slightly as she spun in the air. "Humans are amazing, just like you said." Lyra laughed softly, hugging her daughter. Yes, Neela, yes, they are. And together we can be amazing too. One evening, Lyra and Ethan stood on an observation deck, watching the stars stretch endlessly across the void. The silence was peaceful, a sharp contrast to the chaos they had endured. "Do you ever wonder," Ethan began, "why we keep going? Why humans risk everything for the unknown?" Lyra thought for a moment. "Because hope is stronger than fear. Humans, you keep trying even when it seems impossible. You adapt, you survive, and sometimes you even help others survive." Ethan smiled. "I suppose that's why we're still here, and why I found you in that shuttle, fate or just persistence." Lyra chuckled softly. "Perhaps both. Whatever it was, it brought us together, and I'm grateful for that." For the first time in months, Lyra allowed herself to believe that there could be a future, not just for her and Neela, but for the knowledge and culture she carried. Humans had shown her that survival wasn't just about staying alive. It was about building, learning, and connecting. Weeks passed. Lyra worked tirelessly to document her people's history using the outpost's advanced technology. She blended alien knowledge with human systems, creating archives that would preserve her civilization's legacy. Ethan assisted where he could, amazed at her intelligence and dedication. "You're incredible, Lyra," he said one day, watching her work. "The way you combine your knowledge with these systems, humans couldn't have done it better." Lyra smiled, humbled. "It's not just me. Humans gave me a chance. You showed me that survival doesn't have to be lonely, that we can start again." Neela ran into the room holding a small artifact she had found during her explorations. "Mom, look, I found this. Can we keep it?" Lyra laughed, taking the small object and examining it. "Yes, Neela, it's part of our new beginning. Everything we save, everything we learn, it belongs to us now." Ethan watched them, a soft smile on his face. He realized that humans weren't just strong in body or mind, they were strong in heart. They could turn tragedy into hope, loss into learning, and strangers into family. One morning, Lyra received a message from another human outpost, asking if she would be willing to share her research. She looked at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly. "You should do it," he said. "Your knowledge could help countless civilizations. Humans, we know that what we build alone is fragile, but what we share can last forever." Lyra took a deep breath. "Yes, it's time, for my people and for the future." At the communications terminal, she sent her archives to the outpost, carefully explaining each symbol, technology, and lesson learned. As she finished, she felt a sense of pride she hadn't felt in years. She had survived the unimaginable, protected her daughter, and now she could preserve a legacy. Ethan stood behind her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You've done more than survive, Lyra. You've thrived, and humans were glad to be part of it." Lyra smiled, tears forming. "Thank you for everything, for saving us, for believing in us, for showing me that hope is possible." Neela ran up, hugging both of them. "I love our new home, and I love humans." Lyra laughed through her tears. "Yes, Neela, humans are incredible. And together, we can face anything." As the sun rose over the distant planets visible from the outpost, Lyra, Neela, and Ethan stood together on the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly beyond them, but the void no longer felt empty. It was full of possibility, hope, and life. Lyra looked at Ethan and smiled. "We've been through so much, but this feels like a true beginning." Ethan nodded. "It is. And with humans around, no challenge is too great. We adapt, we survive, and we thrive. That's who we are." Lyra looked at her daughter, then at the stars. "And now we are part of it too. A new family, a new life, and a chance to rebuild." Neela beamed. "I'm ready, Mom. Let's explore the stars together." Lyra hugged her tightly, feeling a warmth she hadn't known in years. "Yes, sweetheart, together we'll face the unknown. And with humans like Ethan, maybe we can make the universe a little brighter." Ethan watched them, a quiet satisfaction in his heart. Humans were resilient, yes, but perhaps their greatest strength was in how they inspired hope, courage, and connection. And now, Lyra and Neela were living proof of that strength. The stars sparkled outside the viewport, endless and unyielding. And for the first time in a long time, Lyra knew that no matter what came next, they could survive, adapt, and thrive. Together.